I'm always fiddling with the interface for my computerized scenarios. Sometimes I add features, sometimes I tweak features, rearrange features, and sometimes I even remove them. And I haven't really paid much attention to those updates in recent videos, so I decided to record a new demo devoted mostly to showing the interface in action. To do that, I'm playing the opening of my Grease 41 scenario. That should provide a pretty good idea of how the computerized interface allows players to perform the same game mechanics as if they were playing with cardboard counters and paper maps. But keep in mind, the system is always lurking in the background here, enforcing the rules, even if players forget them or even if they try to break them. The scenario is loaded, ready to go, so I'll just mumble and bumble my way through here and do the Axis surprise invasion turn. But first, let's do a quick tour of the main control panel. So the control panel is over here. To begin with, we have across the top, these controls are only used for development purposes. Players don't need them at all. Then we have some information about where we are and which game turn, which player turn, which phase, and so forth. We have over here a compass rose, not all that necessary in Grease 41, but allows you to quickly move the diagonal stuff is pretty helpful. Not necessary because you can use the regular scroll bars if you want to. Here we have show and hide, and that allows us, for example, to hide or show allied units, Axis units. Maybe sometimes you just want to see the map. You can do that. We can hide this lower part of the panel anytime we want to see what's going on down there. In some cases, it will automatically spring back down there if it needs to show us some stuff. We'll just hide that for the moment. We can toggle on and off limited intelligence, uncertainty, which is also known as variable strength, and verbose mode if we get tired of seeing some of the messages popping up on screen. So those are all allowing the players to toggle them on and off at any point as play goes along. Also, showing and hiding. If during your turn you want to see which units have not moved. Oh, we can't do that right now. So hang on, and we'll get back to that in a minute. Let's go back down here to the panel. We could do free setup for the Allies or the Axis, but we're going to begin the surprise attack turn in historical positions. And for more information about how those historical positions are determined, what happens to non-div units, and the mandatory casualties taken on the Albanian front and stuff, take a look at the Grease 41 demo that I did a few days ago. For here, we just go ahead and start this. We can see it's clear in both weather zones. Sea conditions are calm. We'll close that. I'm going to hide this panel again, and we'll go back up here. And now, as the Axis player, if I want to see which of my units haven't moved yet, I'll click there, and we get a red dot. So obviously nobody has moved yet. I haven't started moving. We'll turn that off. If we want to see which units haven't attacked yet, now that won't work in this phase, but in the combat phase, if we want to see who hasn't attacked yet, we would click that, and it would show us. We can look here and see which of our hexes are overstacked. And there are a couple of overstacked hexes to begin with, and that's especially true over here on the Albanian front, where the Italians are trying to shoehorn an awful lot of units into mountain hexes over there. We'll turn that off. If we want to find out if there are any headquarters that are empty, that's a rare occurrence, but under certain circumstances you could intentionally or unintentionally remove all the units from a headquarters, and this would tell us which headquarters are empty and point those out to us. But right now there are none of those. Let's see, we can see if there are hexes that have multiple headquarters. At the end of any turn, even if the system has to take care of it, there will only be one headquarters per hex. Sometimes you might temporarily have two headquarters in a hex, and one might be hidden by the other one, and this would tell us what was going on. If we want to check the weather table, so we can see the weather table anytime we want to. If we want to see the CRT, we can see the CRT anytime we want to. The rest of these are for specific headquarters. Oh, wait a minute, I skipped a line. Let's go back here. Friendly zones of control. So this is hexes which have one or more units in them exerting a zone of control. If we want to see where are my combat motorized divisions, and this points out where we can find panzer divisions and motorized divisions and stuff like that. If we want to know where are the engineers, and this points out where engineers are, you can see the red dots come and go as I click on that. Forts, no friendly forts at this time. The dead pile, we want to see what the casualties are so far. None at this point. Eventually, they'll start piling up in there, at least for the Allies. You can search. If you say, well, where did I put that unit? If we go, for example, I think this will find something. Let's try 9th Panzer. So, the 9th Panzer Division is in this hex, so it helps you to track down units. And then we can always get rid of red dots if they're hanging around when we don't want them. Now, like I started to say before, so those lines cover the entire map, whereas the controls in these two lines are specific for individual headquarters. So we'll see more of that as we go along and play. So I think we'll get that panel out of the way again. And let's go ahead and start the invasion turn here. So we're all set. And we'll just start here and work our way up. In this scenario, only German units can move during the Axis surprise invasion turn. If we want to see what's going on, we can just mouse over and we'll get a pop-up to see what's in there. Or we can click on it to get more information. Let me slide over here a little bit. We'll undo that. We'll click here. Because we're playing with limited intelligence turned off, it tells us what's here. And it's the same thing. If we mouse over it, we can see it both ways. So the mousing over it, eventually it disappears on its own, whereas if you click on it, it stays there until something else happens. So let's go back here, grab some German units, and see if we can't just move everybody here and then into here. Note that, so this guy has now used all of his movement points, so he's unchecked, so he can't go anyplace. If we wanted to continue moving, say, just one of the divisions, I can do things like, say, none, pick one, and I could click to move it down here, but I don't really want to do that. Also, the movement mode could be normal ground movement, admin movement, operational rail movement, and strategic rail movement. In this scenario, the Axis player has no rail capacity, so trying to click on rail movement won't work. Strat rail movement wouldn't work anyway because the unit has already moved by normal ground movement. So the system is keeping track of those things, and it won't let you mix different kinds of movement that you aren't allowed to mix. You could, for example, do normal ground movement and then some operational rail movement and then do some more ground movement. But you couldn't do ground movement and strategic rail movement with the same unit in the same turn. Anyway, I think we'll just leave those guys there. So we're going to move on to the next units. And because we're through with these, there are a couple things we can do. We can either click right here, in which case that headquarters and its units are no longer selected, and the movement chart pops back up here by default. Or if this is selected, we could also say in move, which does exactly the same thing, but keep in mind in move is not the same as end phase. That would be ending the movement phase. If we come back over here and turn this guy on, if we want to see, well, where did he come from? I forgot where he came from. I want to see. It shows you where he started and how he moved to get there. Let's see. We could say go back one, and all of these guys, let's see if this will work, right? Oh, one of them didn't go back because he wasn't selected because he had no movement points. We'll go here and move them in here. Now we have two headquarters in that hex, and we can keep moving one of the headquarters, or if we want to leave them both there, we can merge them. And we can merge them a couple different ways. We can click up here to merge, or alternatively, if we do a shift click, it'll retain the headquarters that was on the bottom as opposed to the headquarters that was on the top. If you ever want to do it, and there are some reasons to do it sometimes, you can say I want to add a headquarters, and we'll just pick a random headquarters out of here. How about a cavalry headquarters? And so now we have two headquarters in there, and it's going to allow us to transfer units from the infantry headquarters to the cavalry headquarters. And we'll just say we'll move this one over just for the heck of it. Say, okay, that will do that. So we're done with that. But notice we now have two headquarters in there. It gets kind of clunky looking. If we want to see what's going on, we can spread it out, or we can stack them back up. And because just the cavalry headquarters and its one unit is selected, now if we go here, just that guy goes. If we say go back one, whoops, he's not selected because he is out of movement point. So I'll select him and say go back one, and it puts him in here, and I'll merge all that, and it's all set. We can remove a headquarters if it's empty, and that happens once in a while. Another thing to do that I haven't shown yet is to redesignate. So that's the core headquarters themselves have no particular function that is accorded by the infantry or armor or border or airborne or whatever markings on them. It doesn't really matter at all. But if you want to change that, you can either go here to redesignate, or click here, which will also redesignate. It'll do exactly the same thing. And you can say, instead of having that first infantry corps headquarters, I want to make it, we'll do that, just for the heck of it. All right, so we fiddle around with that guy to get them up to the end of the metaxas line there. So what else do we need to do? Let's look over here and see what we've got going on in this area. So there's a mountain division, nothing but a border brigade there, and a mountain division, and a motorized division, border brigade supported by an artillery regiment. So that actually ends up being a relatively strong hex, but this is quite a weak one. And let's see what happens now if we say, let's move here. Well, it tells us that we've attempted to conduct an overrun, but we're using an overstack. Now that overstack was created when the system randomly deployed non-divisional units at the beginning of the game. And that happens sometimes, it's no big deal. We cancel the overrun, and now let's take two divisions, three of those, we'll get rid of these two guys, and now we'll try it again. Now we've got odds of 25-1, so we can go ahead and attempt to conduct the overrun or cancel it. Well, we'll do the overrun. Not all units have the same movement path, and that really means, the wording is not very clear, but what it really means is that this is going to cost different amount to different units, because motorized units and non-motorized units pay different prices to conduct overruns according to the raw rules. All right, so we'll do that. And when we look over here, it's just explaining in detail what happened. We don't even have to look at that if we don't want to, but we know that we overran that Greek unit and all the overrunning units moved in. We'll just leave them there. Note that the units that were not selected for the overrun, because there was an overstack going on, stayed behind with the new headquarters. And that headquarters is the 1st Panzer Corps headquarters, only because the system just goes down the list and says, what's the next unused Corps headquarters in the pile over here, and it just pulls out the next one. And we can change that if we want to by redesignating it, and we'll just pick one at random here, and we'll let these guys sit here. So what's going on over here? We actually have some useful units here. Let's move them into here, and we will merge all that stuff. Now we're through with them for the time being. So let's see, here we should have some panzers. All right, so let's take our motorized units and run through this gap. Sometimes Yugoslavian territorial units are randomly deployed in this border hex, sometimes not. When they're not, it's a nice gap to run through. So these guys will move right along here. Notice that the ones that stayed behind got another headquarters to control them. And we'll come over here and here. So we've used 7 movement points so far. And let's try to overrun these guys. And it's telling us, nope, you don't have enough. You can't overrun. So we'll cancel that. And we'll probably just let them sit there and call that good. I think we have some more combat motorized units here. I'll say give me none of them, and then I'll just go in and pick out the combat motorized, and we'll move them down to here. While I'm at it, I should probably put a better headquarters there. Probably put a better headquarters here as well, so I can keep track of my combat motorized units. This is not combat motorized. And that, really depends on how fastidious you are, because it doesn't matter which headquarters you have there. Just use whatever makes sense to you. These guys, we'll leave them alone for the moment. Let's switch them over to infantry, though, so I don't have to look at that again. And let's grab the combat motorized here. Let me show you a different way of doing it, though. So let's turn that off, turn it back on, and now let's say add a headquarters. And I'll add a Panzer headquarters. And then I will transfer into that Panzer headquarters a motorized division, a motorized division, assault guns, and some more motorized. So now I've manually transferred them into the headquarters that I selected. So in those transfers, my 1st Panzer Corps is selected. They'll run down here into this hex. And I think that'll be good enough. So it's sitting up here. So we have engineers and artillery. And here we have some couple divisions and an artillery brigade. Note, by the way, that when I mouse over these things, it does show the strength 3-4x, meaning that's the total number of attack factors, the total number of defense factors, and X indicates that the movement factors are not the same for all the units in there. And after the slash, the 0, 1, 1 is stacking divs, non-divs, and artillery. The same thing here. So that helps you figure out, okay, we got a 0, 1, 1 there, and we got a 2, 0, 1 there for stacking. I'll take all these guys, move them in here, merge that, turn that off, and call that good. We'll probably try and push through that hex there. Now, farther up to the north, let's see what's going on. We have, oh, just an infantry regiment there. That's unsupported. Let's just take all these guys, 44 to 1, conduct the overrun. We don't have to worry about that. If I were to turn off verbose mode, it wouldn't bother to mention that to us anymore because we don't really care. That's good enough for these guys. Let's see what's happening here. We'll take everybody except the artillery and run through here. Conduct the overrun. Don't need to see that. And then go on to here. This is another case where I took the original headquarters with me and it picked the next available headquarters back there. But I'm going to swap this off and show that as combat motorized and show this as artillery. Not that it matters. And then move this guy here and here, and he can join up with his whoops. Let's merge that. He can join up with his infantry friends there. We'll turn that off. What do we have here? These guys will just go through here. We'll see how far they can go. It drops off people who can't go any farther. And that's good enough. Except I want to swap this out and show that as, how about we'll pick motorized for that. And switch this over to the next infantry unit there. And again, that doesn't matter at all. All right, so now I think we moved just about all the German units, and let's have the system check for us and say who is unmoved. We got a few German units who haven't moved, but I think basically that's okay. The Bulgarians and the Italians can't move, so it doesn't matter. So I think it's safe to say that we have now ended the movement phase, and we are into the combat phase. So let's start down here. And the way we do the combat phase is, first of all, you click on the map to select a hex under attack. So let's try this. We'll attack that hex. Now we say, where's the attack coming from? And we'll say, here. Now I could pick more hexes if I had more units around there, but I don't. So I'll initiate the hex, or rather, I'll initiate the attack. But we'll leave out some of these guys. We'll just take them. No defensive air support for the Allies during the surprise turn. There is 48 factors of offensive air support available to the Germans. And I'll just throw in 2 of them just for the heck of it. It doesn't matter. This will show me the complete diagnostics of exactly what happened in the attack, and we'll just do that this one time. I could cancel this combat, or I could go ahead. Note that these ground odds were if all these guys were going in here, but I've taken about half of them away, roughly. All right, we'll resolve the combat, and the short answer is here. We had a 9 to 1. We rolled a 6. It was modified to a 5, and it ended up with being a DE. If we want to know the full deal, we can look over here, and it goes on and on all the way through here and explains exactly what happened to each unit, terrain, weather, supply, anti-aircraft fire, all those sorts of things, all the stuff that you would normally be playing around with for 15 or 20 minutes before you roll the die. You know, it's figured it out and spits it out here, but gives you a record of it here. So we'll get rid of that. Now, do we want to advance anybody? Sure, let's go ahead and advance both those attacking units here. And now we go on to the next combat. So we want to attack here, from here, initiate the attack. Now it's reminding us we're attacking in the mountains and limited stacking per hex for attacker applies. It's not strictly necessary to have that warning. I put it there because I find myself, even though I know that rule, I forever forget that I have limited stacking when attacking into a mountain hex. So I just put it there to remind myself. So we have these 3 units that are available, 6-to-1 with a -2 die mod. There's not much here. There is some anti-aircraft, and I'm going to note that this went from 48 to 46 because I used some. And I'm going to throw in, oh, what do you think here? We have 10. Let's just double it. So we'll put in 10 factors of offensive air support. We're not going to look at the detailed results. We'll just resolve the combat. Look at that. So we got a 9-to-1, roll to 3, modified to a 1, defender halved. So we didn't get both of those Greek units. We didn't kill them both. And we're going to now deal with the retreat. And it's saying that this guy here has to retreat. Obviously, he can't go into a German-occupied hex, nor can he go into a zone of control. So this is the only place. So the anti-aircraft battalion survived, and the other guy was destroyed in that DH. So what are we going to do for the advance? We'll go ahead and send all of our guys in to conduct the advance. So there they go. And now we're ready to make another attack. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens if we attack here. And we'll give it all 3 of these hexes going in. Let's take a look. Initiate the attack. Right. So these 2 guys are attacking through a mountain hex side. Oh, they're all attacking through mountain hex side, so we have to be careful on that. So here we go. Oh, and it's telling us in all those cases what's happening. So here we go. So it's 8-to-1 -1 before we remove stuff here. So this seems to think, oh, this is the clear attack here, so that's good. 2-2, that's good. All right, so that's fine. Everybody can go in. There's no DAS. 8-to-1 -1. Let's kick in about 6 factors just for the heck of it. We don't need to see this. We'll resolve the combat. We got a DE, so those guys are gone. Who's going to advance? I don't want anybody from the 3rd Corps to advance. I think I'll send in everybody from the other 2 corps to advance. So there they go. Notice they merged into a single headquarters when that happened. So now we'll move on to our next combat. Let's come over here. And I think we'll do this. What do we have in here? 1 Panzer Division. Well, we'll just do that. So here we have a 7-to-1 +3. We don't need to see the detailed diagnostics. Let's resolve that as expected. We get a DE. Who's going to advance? Let's send in 1, 2, 3. I guess everybody except these guys will advance. And now we'll attack over here. Initiate that attack. 3.7 with the +2. I think this is a place where we definitely need some air support. So let's put in 11 factors of air support. Resolve combat. There's the detailed diagnostics. We've got another DE on that. Everybody advances. Let's go here. Initiate the attack. Okay, going in the mountains, so be careful here. I think that won't be a problem. 28-to-1 -2. Let's see what happens here. We got a defender have. There was only one of them, so he's gone. Everybody's going to advance. Now up here, let's try this. Here, initiate the attack. 8-1, no die mods. We got a DH. Somebody's going to survive and retreat. So we have the cavalry division survived. Can't retreat here, so we'll put him here. And then to advance, we'll send in everybody. And now let's see what's going on down here. Well, we'll just use all these folks to attack here. Got a pretty good odds, I'd say. 47-1 with a +3. Let's resolve that combat. Surprise, surprise, we got a DE. We'll move everybody into that hex. And we'll attack here for no particular reason. Attacking in the mountains. 15-1, -2. Resolve combat. We got a defender retreat. So we'll push them back farther into the mountains, and we'll go ahead and conduct the advance, although that probably doesn't matter at all. So let's see who hasn't attacked yet. And it's only showing us Bulgarian units and Italian units. I think all the German units have made their attacks. So that pretty much shows the interface, how everything works. And at this point, we would say, let's go on to end the combat phase, ending the surprise attack turn, and now we go on to the regular Axis game turn for April 1. And there's the information. But I think that's far enough. I think that demonstrates how the interface allows you to play the game mechanics almost exactly the same as if you were pushing counters on a map, on a paper map. And of course it does have some extra features in there because it's taking care of all the rules for you, making sure that you don't accidentally forget any rules, and adding in a few things like finding units that you're looking for. You can do the search to find a unit. Anyway, so that is my demonstration of the current state of the interface and game mechanics in my scenarios. Thanks for paying attention.